I was actually expecting to like shoot fireworks off for Michigan, but it was such a blowout that it was kind of like, I'm gonna save these for the next one. I very much had a Kirby Smart thing. Like now that I'm thinking about it, like I actually had a Kirby Smart mentality. I was like, you know
Nice. I
what?
like it.
I'm not going to shoot these off. I'm going to save them. The season's not over yet.
Welcome to My God a Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, John, Powell, and I preview Georgia's rematch with Alabama in the College Football Playoff Championship game. And we answer questions from you, our listeners. As always, remember to check out store.mygodapodcast.com to see our latest merch. And you can follow us on social media at MyGodAPodcast. Finally, if you like what you hear, please subscribe, rate, 5 stars obviously, and review the show. If you leave us a review, you just might hear it on an upcoming episode. Now, let's join the conversation in progress.
I've got the barrel proof, so we could go off the rails pretty quickly here.
Nice. All right. My theme for this game is back to basics. So I actually went back and checked to see what I was drinking. I listened to the opening of our preview for Clemson for the first game.
Okay.
And in that one, I was drinking Maker's Mark 46. So that's what I've got tonight.
That's a solid bourbon. What was I drinking out of curiosity?
It was your Georgia bourbon.
My Georgia. Oh, wait. Was it Fiddler?
It was your. I don't know. It was. I just remember you saying it was something I hadn't heard of, and you were like, "It's my only Georgia bourbon." Is what you said. And I was commenting on how I only owned 3 bourbons at the time.
How many do you own now?
I don't know. More than I know off the top of my head.
Is it sad that that's the state of affairs? But then, like, you look online and it's like people like John, or I hesitate to say. Mine's a modest collection, but 30, 40 bottles deep, and you're like, oh my gosh.
Right. Like I feel like I have a lot. Oh man. Okay, so
we're here.
What a season! Where we are where we thought we would be, and it's good to know that it's not just where we hoped we would be. The beginning of a season, you're always hopeful. It's pretty cool, like I can remember back being in college and everything, all the this is the year, and always thinking that, and
how naive we were.
Right, especially in the Donham years, when I first got to college, this is the year. Nope, not even close. It's pretty cool to be able to think that ahead of the season, and then see it come to fruition. And then, of course, we were saying this for the SEC championship, but it had to be Bama, right? So
the inevitable beast.
Might as well be them. Obviously
to be the man, you got to beat the man, and this is
right.
This is I know that deep down, this is kind of who I wanted it to be against. Even if we had won the SEC championship over Alabama and potentially knocked them out, which by and large it looks like that probably wouldn't have been the case. But if you had won the SEC, you still would have felt good. But if you had been facing a Cincinnati or a Michigan in the national championship or something like that, and ended up blowing them out like we did against Michigan, it would definitely be amazing and still feel good. But I don't know, crushing Alabama's soul would have a little bit of a different tinge in this particular game specifically, especially given how the season has panned out.
Yeah. They've been on top for so long, and they've always been the roadblock, and they were the ones there in 17 or whatever, January of 18, whatever, 17 season. It is coming. We've talked about 2017 was widely referred to as the revenge tour season, and we had started talking kind of middle of this year. Could this end up being a revenge tour season? And so now we've got the ultimate case of it right here. So Um, let's do the normal matchup stuff. So we got obviously 8 o'clock on ESPN on Monday night. So actually, hey, Monday Night Football, right? College football playoff championship is
We've
Monday
got
night these
we
days.
got Monday Night Football.
The
Hate
official
it, by the
hashtag,
way. Wish it was Saturday.
it should be Saturday. 100% agree. I gotta say, I can't remember if we talked about this or not. Having the semifinal on Friday, I actually ended up really liking. I didn't like that it was on New Year's Eve, but I did like that it was on Friday because all day Saturday I thought it was Sunday, and then I kept realizing, hey, it's only Saturday, and I had like another day before I had to go
I'm
back to work. It was
I'm
awesome.
su- I, I'm surprised you even knew what day it was because basically from from like when the kids get out of school until they go back, I have no idea what day it is. What time is it? I have no idea. No concept of time.
Right, right. All right, so the official hashtag is hashtag National Championship. So we'll have to check that out. I'm sure there's a nice little emoji or whatever those things are
It
called that goes along with
it
it. So,
is. It is. There's a little emoji that's the national championship emoji or
yeah,
favicon or whatever you want to call it.
right. Uh, the weather will be partly cloudy, a high of 23 and a low of 12. So Indianapolis this time of year quite cold. Thankfully, the game will be indoors. And that's a thankful thing for not only the players but also the fans. Which I'm sure we'll get into this a bit, but I am going. By the way, so I'll be there. Going. My dad, Frip Dog, shout out Frip Dog, was able to secure tickets. So he and I will be venturing to Indianapolis and braving the cold and going to the game, uh, going to the game together. So another revenge tour type thing, personally. On that same note, because my dad and I went to the game in Atlanta, the 17 national championship game against these guys. We were sitting together for that one, so we will be back together for this one.
That's pretty awesome. Little father son action. A little
Yeah,
jealous. Not gonna lie.
yeah. So that'll be cool. That'll be cool. Some of this stuff we've already kind of gone through. It's just adding one, right? So Alabama's 13-1 on the season now, 7-1 in the SEC. The all-time matchup with Alabama. Obviously, we have 25 wins, 42 losses, and 4 ties, and we are now up to 7 in a row that Alabama has won over us. As far as the college football playoff championship, this is obviously our second appearance in that. We are 0-1 against Alabama, as we all remember. This is Alabama's 6th appearance in the college football playoff championship game. They are 3-2 in college football playoff championship games. Um,
Need
so
to make that one more for an even 500
that's right. That's right. That's
for
right.
both of
Exactly.
us.
Right. Yeah. Seriously. Very true. Very true.
Hey man,
Um,
we can even the score there on a number of levels.
yeah. Seriously. Um, that was all I had for that kind of stuff. We went through some kind of fun like Georgia Bama matchup stuff when we played them the first time, so I didn't pull any other things like that. Although I don't know if you want to say this now. You had something. Or do you want to talk about that later? We
Are we
can.
talking about the injury news and
No, there
notes?
was like some kind of anniversary or something.
Oh, right. Yeah, so this is actually, I think it was a couple of days ago, wasn't it? Where it marked Nick Saban's 15-year anniversary
Mm,
employment at the University of Alabama.
that's what it was.
He was getting off the airplane 15 years ago, and little did we know how much it would change everything.
Seriously, seriously, he should have stayed at the Dolphins like he said he was going to.
Yeah, seriously.
Jerk.
Just go back in time. If we
Right.
could only get Bill and Ted to go back in time
Yeah,
and just
yes.
convince him to stay.
Right. Seriously.
There was a nice little screenshot, by the way, that was like a perfect, like, no context college football type post for Twitter with Nick Saban getting off the airplane, literally walking on the tarmac, and behind him is a guy videotaping, taking a picture of him on a tractor,
That's right.
looking like he is a farmer. It
Uh,
is perfect.
I remember you sent me that picture, and I was like, "What is this? Like, what are you, what are you showing me?" That's too funny. So, initially, like looking at news and notes, right? I listened to Kirby's, media time this week, and nothing like super jumped out at me. And I think actually the thing that jumped out to me the most, that is a good thing, a good place to be in here, is we've spent like almost every preview episode this season, like talking about who's in, who's out, and how we're hopeful. And Kirby's hopeful that this guy's going to play or that guy's going to play. But it is nice. I think we pretty much know we've got who we've got, right? And I guess
We're pretty much
looking back
100%
now,
healthy.
yeah. So I mean, other than the guys that have been out for the year for a while, we got everybody,
Yeah, yeah.
back, right? And Salyer really looked great and kind of returned to form. Was great to have him back and doing his thing in the Orange Bowl, and Chris Smith as well. So that was awesome. So that actually that the lack of that kind of discussion is actually what jumped out to me the most. Um,
Well, we're hopeful. We're hopeful that there is no news in that regard for us
yes, very true.
for the next few days here.
Now, how about that Saban?
Really ever.
Right, right. But how about that Saban used the word hopeful on some of his guys in his media availability? Because they've got all the guys that are questionable, and Saban's hopeful to get him back.
Yeah, no, that's definitely was some eventful news that I saw from that side of the tracks. Was he definitely? It was clearly like, oh, this is where Kirby got it from. Which,
Yeah, right,
shocker.
right.
We're building everything and riffing off of everything that he learned from Saban himself. But yeah, they're hopeful for some guys that get back at some pretty. I mean, if you're being honest, like, and I was texting with the neighborhood guy that's an Alabama alumni earlier today about this as well. I was like, hey, how are you feeling about the national championship? And he's like, a better question is, how are you feeling about the national championship? And
Right.
I was like, well, I mean, I'm feeling pretty good. We're coming off a pretty good performance, but you also got some injuries going on, and it was like he was completely oblivious to the potential perils that they have on the offensive line. So, yeah, well, we've got a lot of depth there, which
Right.
they do, obviously, because they're Alabama. But at the same time, like, you've
Mhm.
got two guys that are seasoned veteran starters along that offensive line, and I'm totally going to butcher. I'm totally going to butcher the name.
That's okay.
Timeout.
We don't have the Scott Howard pronunciation guide. That's okay.
Yeah, the two big ones for me, and technically it's four because a couple of them are like, are they doubtful? Are they, maybe they're going to play sparingly or whatever? But like, the two big ones for me are along the offensive line, which, if we're being honest, that's where this game is ultimately going to be played, is along the trenches.
Yeah.
You've got Ikior and Chris Owens on the offensive line. They've got the right guard Ikior and the right tackle Chris Owens. Both of those guys left the Cotton Bowl with injuries and did not return.
Yeah.
I believe, I can't remember which one it was. I want to say it was Ikior left in the first quarter and did not return, and Chris Owens, I think, left late in the fourth quarter and didn't return. Chris Owens has an ankle injury, which, if you are a large human being, such as the offensive lineman at this level, that's probably not an easy injury to get over quickly.
Mhm.
I have very weak ankles myself, and I'm fairly small. So I know how much that sucks. Um,
I love it when we compare ourselves to athletes getting injured, because I have done that multiple times too. Uh,
right, right.
uh,
Um, but Ikior has a shoulder injury, which, I mean, if you're an offensive lineman, especially on the interior, you're using your arms quite a bit. So
Yeah.
those could be impactful. And then you've also got and the thing is about those two is that they're being backfilled by a true freshman who's never been on this stage, and a sophomore, which maybe has been in the stage, I guess, depending on if he was playing before.
Mhm.
Amari Kite and JC Latham. Those are two names to watch out for if you see them heavily in the game. How we scheme around, how Lanning kind of schemes around those guys. If I were a betting person, I would say that we would probably try to pick on the true freshman
Mhm.
a good bit on the offensive line if that's the case. And then on the flip side, much like in the SEC championship, you have a couple of guys on their side that are injured on the secondary. You've got uh, Jalen Armour Davis. They call him JAD. He hasn't been necessarily ruled out, but he's got a hip problem, which is pretty important if you're a cornerback.
Mhm.
And then you've got Josh Jobe, who's out with a turf toe. He didn't play at all in the Cotton Bowl, and I believe he's basically not going to play, but is listed as doubtful for the game. So you got two guys, two cornerbacks that are out,
Yeah.
potentially out or limited
Mhm.
for this game. You've got some true freshmen that are basically going to be stepping into those roles, which um, you know uh, they're obviously heralded players, but at the same
Right.
time,
They were recruited by
you're you're
Alabama. Right.
you're playing in the biggest game of the season, and you're
Yeah.
getting true freshman work out of some pretty key positions. So it'll be interesting to watch those matchups. But kind of like what you were saying, we're basically 100% healthy on everybody that's potentially available on our side, and and they're the ones that have injury questions.
Right. Right. For sure. However, I'm sure that the Bama faithful are now drinking the Kool Aid. I would imagine because that is actually the name of the replacement corner who's coming in and playing. Uh, I'm forgetting his last name. What's the Kool Aid kid's name?
It is. Oh, hold on. It's Kool Aid McKinstry.
I mean, definitely on the all name team. So he's at least got to get that going for
I
him.
mean, that's a bold strategy to name your kid after Kool Aid.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I do love it. I do love it. All right. I said in the text that my entire analysis for this game was that we've seen one Georgia team play for 13 games out of 14, and we saw another team show up in the other game, being the SEC championship game. So are we going to see the team that we've seen 13 times, or the team that we've seen one time, and whichever team shows up, is kind of decide that game. And so that's it for my God podcast. This has been the shortest episode ever. That was my definitive analysis. I knew we were going to have a shorter episode. Haha, yeah, right. So, all right, let's do what we usually do. So let's talk about our offense, their defense. So when we've got the ball.
Yeah,
Um,
before we jump into that, I mean, I think that
oh,
you're right. I mean, if you
okay,
literally
yeah,
looked at everything, it's like,
mhm,
is the one game in the SEC championship that meant basically nothing for our boys,
yeah,
is that the outlier, or is it the team that showed up and basically blew the doors off of everybody else they played?
yeah,
And I
including
figure
the
that
number two team in the country, right? Like we
I
can't we
figure
can't we can't go the Georgia hasn't played anyone route now, right? I
no.
mean, yeah,
Kirby can't
we
win
can't
the
say that
big
anymore,
one is
right?
effectively dead. And like the only hurdle here is, can Kirby beat Alabama? Like that's really
Right.
what it comes down to. And frankly, can Stetson Bennett beat Alabama? Because if we were
Yeah,
to look at some other news and notes, which maybe the people out there don't realize this, but Stetson Bennett is 13-3 as a starter at the University of Georgia.
yeah, yep.
Two of those losses were against Alabama. The
Wow.
other
Yeah,
loss was to Florida last
right.
year when he was basically hurt
Yeah, I was to say in the game that he got hurt in the middle
in a
of,
game that
and
he
we
got
were
hurt in.
yeah we were winning before he got hurt.
Right. So, yeah. No, I think that This game. He definitely downplayed it in his he downplayed it a good bit in his press conference, talking about like the pressure and
Hmm.
how he recognizes that this is an important game, but like he doesn't look at it like that. It's just the next game, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to put that kind of pressure on the squad and that kind of stuff. But like, I mean, he's got a hump to get over too, and there's a potential for him to truly answer and become an absolute Georgia legend on a number of levels.
Yeah.
He has the opportunity to to you know basically achieve the status that first round draft picks, third round draft picks, SEC record holders have been unable to achieve.
Yeah.
Aaron Murray didn't win anything. Aaron Murray didn't win a national championship.
Yeah.
David Green didn't win a national championship. Matt Stafford didn't win a national championship.
Yeah.
Lord knows Joe Cox didn't win a national championship. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
get where I'm going. Jake Fromm didn't win a national championship.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Um,
rare company. I mean, he's going to be up there with Buck Belue. I mean, of the guys around these days, it's one of the guy you can talk about.
exactly. So, um, yeah, there's definitely a lot of pressure, and I think that they were downplaying it a little bit. But let's go into the matchups.
No, fair. I think you're right. Okay, so our offense, their defense. I don't have a whole lot here, right? Because we've already played these guys. But for what I do have, like a Todd Monken thing, I want to see him keep the running backs involved. So, I'm definitely like everyone knows that I love to run the ball, but I'm not necessarily saying that we have to, run the ball. But I think we do have to keep them involved. Like the things that we saw laterally with the backs, even in the passing game, that were essentially runs. We had talked about that kind of going into the Michigan game. We saw a lot of it. It worked really well. Would love to continue to see that. And obviously, we need to get the ball into the hands of our skill playmakers. Obviously, Brock Bowers, huge factor. But I think we got to keep the running backs in mind as well. And then for Stetson Bennett, do your thing, man. Do your thing, and that includes running it if the pass isn't there. And then I think the key in this game for him is to limit or have no head scratching moments, right? We've talked
Right.
about how he's kind of good for one a game. If he could have zero, watch out. That would be huge.
Yeah. No.
And then just limit Will Anderson like we did in the first game. So
Um, yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing for UGA is got to be on the offensive side of the ball. Has got to be Stetson. I, I hesitate to say he has to play error free,
mhm.
because there obviously is some wiggle room for him to make errors as long as we balance those out on the defensive side, which I know we'll get to that in a second. But
Yeah.
we need to be at worst net neutral on the offensive side of on the error side of things.
Yes.
So what that looks like is basically Stetson playing the best game that he's ever played against Alabama. Um, each game that he's
Yeah.
played, it's literally his worst game. Obviously, we just talked about his record overall.
Yeah.
Alabama's got his number. Alabama's got Georgia's number. It's literally the biggest hurdle that he's got is getting over this hump with them. There's no, if you find yourself under duress, take the sack, throw the ball away, or put it in a position where it's only your guy that can catch a 50-50 ball.
Mhm.
The Frankly, I would love to see him not throw 50-50 balls.
Yeah.
So, because I don't like those odds. um, what I would like to see early on, and I'll break it down this way. So, what I would like to see early is some early swing passes. I want to see us make some short completions, quick completions. Not necessarily, I don't necessarily think that we have to go out and score. Obviously, that's going to be very dependent on how Alabama responds. And again, we'll get to the defense in a second because, frankly, that's a huge part of what's going to happen in this game is if the defense shows up.
Yep.
I think we'd be stupid not to admit that. But we need the offensive line to play the same way against Will Anderson as they did against Aiden Hutchinson
Mhm.
and Ajabo.
Yeah.
The the way that they played against Michigan was fantastic. I don't know what happened in the month since I don't know what happened in the month since the SEC championship game, but let's hope and pray that the offensive line has figured things out and they can continue that consistency that we saw in the Michigan game.
Yeah, I do wonder if
Um,
it's if that difference is a fully healthy and back to form Salyer. You know, because the SEC
yeah,
championship game was his first game back, so that could be a big part of it.
right. Yeah, no. Again, I think that the peaking at the right moment, as I mentioned in the last episode,
Mhm.
um, is really important for us. Having them be somewhat hobbled at some key areas, I think is going to be important as well. Again, early on, I'd like to see us swing the ball out to keep their linebackers honest, because if they're able to shut down our perimeter play, whether it be in the running game and or the passing game, depending on which way this is going to go, I think that if we were to look at the SEC championship game as a blueprint, both teams are going to try to make the quarterback beat you. Um,
Yeah, right.
Bama is going to basically sit back, which is basically what they've done against Stetson the entire time, is make Stetson beat you. He, other than I heard David Green. David Green had an interview earlier this week on the radio, and I can't remember which station it was. I think it was Chuck and Chernoff or something. Um, but he mentioned that whenever he talks about the quarterback position, I tend to try to listen. Him and Aaron Murray are two guys that I like to listen to when they talk about our quarterbacks. Um, he was pretty complimentary of how Stetson played in the SEC championship game outside of like 5 or 6 plays.
Right.
Two of those being interceptions, one of which was a pick six. Some ill-advised plays that he had, like outside of 5 or 6 plays, and he was right. Outside of 5 6 plays, he played pretty good. He played really good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so if we can eliminate those errors from the quarterback position, um, I think that we're in a much different. It's a different ball game. Um, so what I'd like to see is settle into the game, quick passes out to the perimeter, get Brock Bowers involved, get their linebackers playing honest. They can't have everybody pinned back and just dialing up blitzes on Stetson and being able to contain everything else outside. Um, I don't
Yeah.
necessarily think that we have to have a big game from the running back core, but it certainly wouldn't hurt. One of the things that I saw from Cincinnati when they played, I mean, the final score of the Cincinnati game was, yeah, the score looked bad, but I was talking with you earlier. Like, I mean, they were within, if they go down, so Alabama marches down the field and scores.
Yeah.
Cincinnati marched down the field and got into the red zone. They got into like the inside the 10-yard line and ended up having to kick a field goal. If they score a touchdown there, it's 10-17 at halftime
Right.
versus Alabama, which is a very different game in my opinion. It was a one-score game all the way through the fourth quarter until Bama was able to pull away at the end. That's where the points started piling on, was in the fourth quarter. If we have them at 17 points in the fourth quarter, that is I mean, I love our chances to win if we can hold Bama to 17 points to the fourth quarter. I mean, shoot, if we hold them to the final score that they had against Cincinnati, um, I like our chances. I mean, you
Yeah.
saw Williams was hurt. You saw a couple of their offensive linemen go out. Like, Bryce Young looked completely like un-Heisman like.
Yeah,
um,
that's the thing with them, right? It's like it gets back to the whole like we saw again the what's the outlier for Georgia, right? Same thing with Bama. They've been up and down all year, and their one game that everything was perfect was the SEC championship game, right? Like it was our worst game and it was their best game. And those two things obviously did not match up well together. Do you want to switch over to the defense? Because I feel like we're kind of bleeding into that. We can
Yeah, I was
figure
just
this
about
out.
to say that. I was about to
Yeah.
say that might be a good caveat to switch to the defense. But
Yeah.
are there other things that you're looking for on the offensive side, Jim? Like,
The only thing is for me, the only thing that popped into my mind was if we get behind, like it's on Munkin, right? Like because again, I the you know both times we played Alabama with Munkin as the offensive coordinator, once we got behind, the play calling changed significantly. I was about to say drastically, but I'll say significantly. Like the plays that he was calling changed uh, to an area that I didn't like. Like he started to press. So I would like, if we get behind, I'd like to see Munkin have, composure, right? Is a big Kirby word. I'd like to see Munkin keep composure and continue to stick to what works and not so much chase points. But again, that kind of leads us to the defense, right? But unless there's anything else for you, but
there is a
so
couple
you
of
can know.
things.
Okay,
I do have a couple of things that I wanted to highlight as well from our offensive side.
okay.
You actually, kudos to you. You're the one that pointed this out to me. But you want to talk about the unbalanced line with Bowers?
Wow. Full disclosure, I got that from Graham and Josh. I watched Dog Sports Live this week, which obviously shout out to those guys.
Always, always
No,
shout out.
no surprise that we love those guys. But so they had their Orange Bowl review. They used the all 22 footage, which was awesome. So you could see all 22 players in every play they looked at. So uh, probably my favorite Dog Sports Live I've ever watched. I will say that was a part of it. But I think actually it was Josh that called it out, and Graham walked through the play on the first touchdown pass to Bowers. Uh, Bowers was basically lined up as an eligible tackle. So he was the second player over from the center. It was an unbalanced line. We had like two tackles to the right, and then Brock Bowers was the left tackle. So I think that confused Michigan. Monken called a great game, man. That was a great thing. A couple of plays before that, when I think it was like second and short or third and short, we came out of a timeout and flipped everyone, right? Like everyone went in motion, and Michigan's defense was totally confused. You could tell they were manned up on guys, and everyone was flipping around. Had them confused. So he definitely threw some wrinkles in for Michigan.
Yeah.
So yeah, does he have anything else up his sleeve for Alabama? So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the halfback pass. We
Yeah.
saw a lot. There was a lot of action out of the three tight end bunch set, which
Yeah.
we had a lot of success with, and frankly, like sets up nicely for us to stay away from Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
Um, talking about containing Anderson is, if you can set things up on the outside like that, is nice. I don't know, man. We joke about this. We joked about this. What was it? It was 2019. I feel like everybody, each game that came along, we had all of these beleaguered wins, and it was like we just kind of were sleepwalking our way through the season, and we're all saying, "Man, Kirby's saving it for the end. Like he's saving something." It's like
Right. Right.
holy shit, we were saving some stuff because we had stuff that we hadn't seen all season long on the offense, and look,
It's
it
true.
worked.
Yep.
So
Yep.
what else? What else does the mad scientist have up his sleeve?
Hmm. Yes, that's a good question. Yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out if there's anything else there.
All right, that's how we'll
Okay.
segue.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So yeah. So for if we as we transition into their offense, our defense. Again, for me, it's really like the return to form, right? Want to see the defense that we've seen 13 times and not once. Because like we said, it looked like a totally different team. Keep it simple, right? It seems like we changed. We now know there were some scheme changes for that game. Not sure that was the best idea. Maybe go back to what was working. We had said all season that they had simplified the defense for these players, let the players play. Get back to that. And then something like, again, watching back from what I have rewatched of the championship game, it felt we would said things like we didn't get pressure on Bryce Young, and I think that's not exactly accurate. Like, we got no sacks. There was pressure, but we never got him to the ground. Like, how many times did he Houdini his way? You keep saying it's the backyard football stuff, right? Like, get the kid to the ground. If we get to Bryce Young, you've got to get him to the ground, right? Or at least like get a hit on him, right? I mean, make him think twice. If we could get a good lick on him, that would be amazing. And you think about the one time we did when he was running on the field, he fumbled, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he's not a huge kid, right? I mean, let's make him have that in the back of his head. That would be huge. The other things, though, are one of the things that made us feel good about the original matchup was the fact that Brian Robinson Jr. was questionable. Like, we didn't even think he was going to play, right? And he
Yeah.
did. He didn't have gaudy numbers, but he had a really good game, right? Like, he had some really important, meaningful yards in that game. The dude just ran for 204 yards against Cincinnati. um, he was like Mr. Everything in that game for them. So he's clearly back to form. I don't think I don't. Sounds like they're not so much worried about his health anymore. So again, like we said, right, shut down the run, make the quarterback beat you. That's always what we're trying to do. I think it'll be a little bit tougher to do that this week just with his health. Although we do have the questions on the offensive line. And then the other big difference, obviously, from last game to this game is Mechie, right? So Mechie injured, unfortunate injury. Hate to see anyone go down with an injury like that, but the reality is he will not be playing this game. But of course, in true like Alabama fashion, their leading receiver in the Cotton Bowl was actually his replacement. He's a freshman from Miami, Ja'Cory Brooks. He had 4 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown. Although I think most of that was on one play. I think he had a 44-yard touchdown reception in the Cotton Bowl, but he was their leading receiver. So someone to watch for, who's going to kind of step up in Mechie's absence, and that's definitely one of those guys.
Yeah. Robinson is definitely the X factor right now. That
Yeah.
said, I don't know. I don't see him racking up a ton of yards this game. I could be wrong. The game plan will likely stem from this is how if I'm Dan Lanning, this is how I would dial it up. Like, you're not going anywhere on the ground. Both
Mm-hmm.
you, Bryce Young, and you, Robinson. I want you to beat me through the air. I actually think that we match up pretty good, receiver for receiver, all along their offensive front, with a fully healthy secondary that UGA has. Chris Smith being back in, I think that being fully healthy across the board is going to be a big difference for our secondary.
Yeah.
Because Chris Smith wasn't the same. He wasn't the same player in the SEC championship game. He just wasn't.
Nope, he
He's had a
wasn't.
month. He's had a month to get healthier. I mentioned it again.
A half a football, right? Which
Right.
let's be thankful that his targeting was in the first half, so that he doesn't have to miss any of this game. Sorry, keep
Right.
going.
Yeah. So I was texting with my buddy. Is like, listen, I know that this is going to sound silly, but like, you guys were passing all over a secondary that was depleted, and frankly, you were passing all over a defense that was completely distracted and clearly, very clearly, was doing things that the film suggested that they should not do, and very clearly was doing things that we had not done all season long.
Yep.
Um, Again, it goes back to the conspiracy theorists. Like, were we just trying things out, just poking and prodding? Hey, let's run our plan B against these guys from the outset and see what happens.
Right.
Okay, plan B didn't work. Let's run plan A in the national championship. Like, I
Right.
definitely could see some scenarios like that transpiring, because what we see is that if and Cincinnati had some success. Like again, I mean,
Mm.
the win probability for Alabama was not into the 90s. Frankly, was below 80% for basically the entirety of the first half. When the game was 10-3,
Mm.
it was still 17-6 late in the third quarter. It's not until the fourth quarter that they finally start to pull away, um, putting the nail in the coffin. And frankly, I think that's just out talenting an undermanned and undergunned team. They're
Yeah.
not going to have that luxury in the national championship. So what that looks like to me is that it's been 10 days since then. Anybody that got dinged up or banged up in that game has had 10 days to get better. Um, they clearly have question marks, and frankly, like what could potentially pop up between now and then. Mechie is not coming back, and I think that's really the big thing here for our defense is that we no longer have to worry about Mechie. Again, I think we match up nicely
Yep.
all along the secondary, with the exception of Williams. Um, Williams was by and large a non-factor in the Cotton Bowl. So I'm hoping that the game film that Cincinnati has, that we have from Cincinnati on how to make sure that we contain him, which frankly don't let him get loose. We
Like
saw,
don't leave him not covered like we did with
yeah,
the SEC championship. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you and I saw that from the SEC championship. If you see, it's very similar to our last episode where if you see James Cook lined up on a linebacker,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're telling everybody in the stadium knows we're throwing it to James Cook. If Williams is running in motion, 9 times out of 10, the ball is looking for Williams in that scenario.
Yeah.
Um, if he's running a slant, 9 times out of 10, Young is looking for Williams in the slant. Like if we can keep him from doing damage like that, I think that if we can contain Williams, that good things are going to happen to us, because I don't see Robinson racking up 200 yards on this UGA defense.
Yeah. No, that's not. Yeah, he's not gonna do that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so that's what I'm saying. Like if I'm landing, I'm dialing up. I mean, I would hesitate to say like we should have a spy on Young the entire game,
Hmm.
but just don't lose contain. Like don't lose
Yeah.
contain. If you lose contain against Bryce Young, we're going to lose this game,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it is going to get to backyard football. You saw that with Cincinnati. There were multiple plays where he broke loose and either made a good pass play, or he just flipped it out to Robinson, and Robinson ran for 30, 40 yards on an option play that clearly wasn't a designed option play. He
Yeah.
did that against us to the SEC championship. Um, bring him down. Cincinnati was able to bring him down. There were multiple plays where like Young broke loose, and
Yeah.
Cincinnati was able to bring him down.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I just the defense needs to show up, and we talked about this on the last episode. But Dan Lanning no longer hopefully being focused. We had the airing of grievances, the Festivus for the rest of us.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
we had we
Yes.
had we've had a come to Jesus with everybody. Brittany's back in the fold. We got Chris Smith. We got Pickens is here. We're having special meetings with JT Daniels and Pickens. Maybe there's a plan B for us if things don't go to plan, which I'm hoping that there is a plan B, because that would be the ultimate out Bama is, if Stetson isn't getting the job done, we pivot to Daniels, and,
I'd
not
still
only
be
do we back.
surprised. I'd still be surprised if that happens. But yes.
I,
Sorry.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. But if we're talking about like the last game where it's the second half and we're down 14 points and we're clearly not getting anything done, and then Stetson throws a pick six, like at that point, I'm hoping, let's say if
Yeah.
history repeats itself and we find ourselves in a similar scenario where we're down 21 points in the third quarter, like we literally have nothing to lose.
I'm with you.
Um,
If we end up in that
so
same, yeah, if that same scenario happens again, the switch would happen. I agree with that.
yeah,
Yep.
So that's kind of where I'm at with it on the offensive side. Like Brock Bowers needs to have a big game, which by the way, um, he's 140 yards, I believe. He's like 140 yards short of 1,000 yard season.
Mm, yeah, that would be amazing. Second,
I don't know that he's going to get it, but that would be
right?
pretty awesome.
That would be. That would be.
Keep Anderson out of the backfield. Keep
Yes.
Anderson out of our backyard. Contain
Yeah.
him. Um, yeah, offensive line play well.
Yeah. Right.
And frankly, Jordan Davis. Like I hope to not see Jordan Davis just not caring. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
how else to describe it.
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up because there was definitely something going on. I don't know. I know a lot of people have. There have been some theories that he was sick. That there were a lot of guys that were sick, like flu or something was going on SEC championship game. Um, Bama was running their offense and not, like they were running successive plays without substituting, which made it such that we could not substitute to match. So that will be something to watch here again this time, right? Like, is Alabama able to do that? Are they able to run these plays to keep our same defensive personnel on the field? For the amount of time for them to get tired, because that was definitely part of what they did in game one. So
So with that as a caveat, like it's a chicken and the egg scenario, right? So
Mhm.
what you're saying is that Alabama was running their offense in such a way that allowed us to not sub. That's not the first time that we've had that scenario pop up this season. I mean, we played against
Yeah.
Tennessee. Obviously, the
Yep.
talent's different, but like that adversity has been there before. What is the difference in that scenario? The difference is that the offense was getting the job done. So like
Mm.
yes,
Yeah.
I totally agree. I totally agree that the defense needs to show up. They didn't show up in the last game, but frankly, the offense wasn't moving the ball quite as effectively and as methodically. I mean, they were pretty. I feel like they were pretty efficient. I mean,
Well,
We had some
they had that
explosive
huge
plays.
they had that huge lull, right? They had a huge lull.
Exactly.
End of the second quarter, and then basically the third quarter, the offense kind of disappeared.
Yeah,
And then
I'm
and
glad.
even by the time the defense kind of showed up and started to figure things out, it took the offense too long to get back into the swing of things in the first game. So
And I'm glad you
it's
brought
like
that up.
complementary football, right? Like that's what Georgia football has been all year, right? The offense feeds off the defense and vice versa. So
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up about the quarters. John sent, I don't know if he's tweeted it or not or whatever with the dog dispatch, but like um, John tweets, kind of put together a bit of a chart that kind of showcased, versus other opponents versus Alabama, how we did quarter by quarter. And
mhm,
the one glaring like the one glaring difference, like we are pretty even, I mean, quarter by quarter with what we were doing against Alabama. The one glaring problem was the second quarter against Alabama, where that's
yep,
where Alabama did their damage to us, was in the second quarter. If you even just like frustrate them in the second quarter, it's a different ball game. So yeah, I think that having the offense continue to keep the defense off the field, helping them rest, because I assume that Alabama will probably try to do the same thing. They'll probably start to, especially with a healthy Robinson. I'm sure that they're going to try to. There'll probably be some poking and prodding, like, "Hey, can you maintain this for 4 quarters? We're going to like just dial up Robinson on top of you over and over again. Can you keep up?"
right,
Um, and if we can sustain drives and punch them in, like I think the stat in the SEC championship, how many trips to the red zone that we had? We had like 3 or 4 trips to the red zone, had 0 points or something like that.
right, right.
That can't happen. That can't happen.
Yep, agreed, agreed. Um, I think I do just want to add that I think special teams could be very important in this game. We will be indoors, so no swirling winds to watch out for. That's for sure. But uh, Kamara has been a weapon all year, and he had a good game punting against Alabama, even in the SEC championship game. So that could be a big factor. And then
He did.
obviously, Jackpot keep doing his thing. And the return game. I think that could be that's something to watch out for. We haven't had a big punt return in a while. Although it would be great to see Alabama punting this game more so as opposed to the last one. I feel like special teams could be a pretty big factor in this one. So, but nothing specific to call out for us because we've been pretty good at it all year. So more of a kind of keep doing what we've been doing.
Yep.
Was there something else though?
No, not on special teams. Not on special teams. The only thing I'll say is that I imagine that every Alabama fan out there had they were Munsoning pretty hardcore when their kicker missed that field goal in the Cotton Bowl, and I'm hoping that they have a similar experience in the national championship.
For sure, agreed. All right, let's. You want to hit the listener questions?
The only thing that I'll say that we didn't talk about, I know you were Oscar momenting me with the timing here, but the only thing that I'll say, Alabama lost a turnover battle against Cincinnati. Cincinnati played error-free the entire game. They were in the game in the fourth quarter. If Georgia can play that way, if we win the turnover battle and we're in the game in the fourth quarter, it's going to be a beautiful night for you and your dad in Indianapolis.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'll say. Is like Alabama lost the turnover battle against Cincinnati. Can Georgia replicate that?
Right. Okay. All right. Let's hit the listener questions.
Let's do it.
We have a My Gotta podcast first. The first reply to our question tweet was actually from a Bama fan. So, CT came in with a one-word reply of trash. So, congratulations, CT. That was some great interaction from the opposing fan base.
So we'll move on. 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's pretty quick.
That's quick on the draw.
It was pretty quick, and it's not somebody that I follow or something. I'm not familiar with this person, so I thought that was kind of funny. Anyways, we'll move on. First one, not a question.
That's dog bone. That's dog bone material.
Oh, that reminds me. Last week when we tweeted at the dog bones, someone replied because we use Hunter. Hunter was kind enough to make us a nice dog bone helmet graphic for this season, and there's a black dog bone in there. And I don't know if you remember, like with Rick, the black dog bones were for academic achievement. That's what that was for. Someone actually replied and said, "Who is the academic dog bone for?" And like Hunter was like, it's for me. So I think this week we're going to give the academic dog bone to CT, the Bama fan, because he was able to read the tweet. So congratulations, CT, Bama fan, able to read. All right, so we'll move on. I'll move on. First one.
I got my camo hat on and everything for that one.
Nice. Move on for Dwight. Doodah Dog 1. Not a question. He just gave an opinion. He said, my opinion, all gas, no brakes on offense. Aggressive play calling, regardless of score, until the fourth quarter, and time management with a lead. Field goals as a last resort. We need touchdowns to beat Bama, and we need to keep our edge and momentum. Go Dogs, unfinished business, run it back. Amen, Dwight. Could not agree more. All right, Amen. Jason Huggins, Hug Dog 18. Fill in the blank. It all boils down to this. Georgia wins the national championship if blank. And what I like is that Jason now knows that you're going to say this, so he just went ahead and gave his answer to us. So he said, his fill in the blank is Georgia wins the national championship if we forget who we are playing and focus on playing our absolute best on every play. We do that. I like our chances. See you in Indy.
And we both drank to that, Jason. So cheers.
Yes. Amen.
The slight pause there was both of us just like, yeah, cheers, go Dogs.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. Again, yeah, I've already said I'll just say one more time. Again, the team that we've seen 13 times, that team shows up, right? Um,
Right.
that team shows up. That's it for me. So
I'll be a little bit more explicit in my answer.
okay.
I've got if Stetson Bennett throws 0 interceptions
Mhm.
and we keep them under 30 points.
Okay,
I
I
think
like that.
you kind of called that out. Like I gotta give you a hat tip on that one. I was like, you know what, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yep. Yep. Let's make it a family affair. Hambone, Hampton Huggins is up next. Uh, how many sacks and turnovers does the dog defense need to get? I'm thinking 3 sacks and a pick. And I had my answer in my head already, and I think you basically already said this earlier. I'm not sure that there is a specific number for our defense. I think the key is that the turnover battle is neutral, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
if everything is matched. So
Yeah, that's
so if we don't
that.
turn the ball, over, I don't know that we necessarily need to get a turnover. If for what that's worth, it would be great.
Correct.
Obviously, it would be great. Obviously, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's
for
kind of how I think.
sure. Ultimately, it's going to come down to how we play. Like, I don't give a shit about how Alabama plays as long as we play within ourselves and within what we have at our disposal. Like you said, in the 13 games that we've played, where we played to our potential and basically blew the doors off of everybody, if that team shows up, if we control what we can control and control the ball, don't turn the ball over on our side of things, I think that I mean, the point spread is the point spread for a reason. I think that Vegas hates us for some reason, but at the same time, like they're
Yes.
probably not wrong. Like, I mean, if you looked at this, like I know I sent a text to the text thread, but like um, averaging out some of the resources that we have at our disposal, like if you average out some of the different score lines that I've seen out there from like 4 or 5 different like quote unquote experts. Odd Shark is one that we use that has a predicted score. Like some of these betting sites have these predicted scores that you can kind of average it out. And like, I mean, it's pretty close. I mean, we're
Yeah.
talking about 2 3 point margin. So like,
Yeah.
if we find ourselves, and this is what I was texting my Alabama buddy, was like, if we find ourselves in a 2017 matchup or a 2012 type matchup, I actually like will enjoy that game. Like
Mhm.
it'll stress me the heck out. But
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would much prefer that game than the SEC championship game where it's like, okay, you guys are kicking the crap out of us. This is not fun for a number of reasons, but like most of which is because this is not the team that you guys should be playing. Like you're not playing Georgia. You're playing this like Bizarro Dogs or whatever.
I had the like what it's not what they do, it's what we do. I had
Exactly.
that thought in my head earlier today. I think you've been reading my mind. So end that one on that
Yeah, seriously.
one. So okay, next one, Angela Delilah Puckett. Um, she checks in, says, "What is it going to be like to play in Colts Stadium? Will it give an advantage to either team? Did they prepare for the game any differently?" So this is the one. I think you had some thoughts on this one around the turf specifically, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we alluded to this in some of the other episodes, and I know we talked about it on the text thread, but like, um, this was one of the things that I saw, and I realized that it's really dumb to like look at this and intuitively like whatever, dude. Like we all have to play on the same surfaces, like whatever.
Mm.
The reality is that the 2 college football playoffs victories that the University of Georgia has have been played on natural grass turf.
Yeah.
Um, Similar blends, and not to get all dad on everybody, but like similar blends to what's in Sanford Stadium.
Right.
Like
Right.
the same turf that's in the Rose Bowl is the same turf that's in Sanford Stadium, and I believe it's a similar blend at Hard Rock, or is it the other way around? I can't remember. But anyway, natural grass turf.
Right.
Mercedes Benz, as we all know, is artificial turf.
Mm-hmm.
The Cotton Bowl was played on artificial turf.
Mm.
Unfortunately for us, Indianapolis Colts play in an artificial turf stadium. So if you were to look at an advantage to Alabama, or an advantage for one of the teams based on just like atmosphere and stadium location, like the turf at Indianapolis Stadium has got to be an advantage to Alabama because we have yet to win a game against these guys on artificial turf. Period.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Frankly, let's see. We played the Iron Bowl, or sorry, the Birmingham, not Birmingham, Tuscaloosa. They have natural grass turf too. So frankly, we haven't beat them on any
Yeah.
any natural grass surface. But
Yeah.
the
I was
three,
thinking,
we just don't play
right.
well on turf.
Well, I mean, we did. So we could think about that a little bit. I mean, we did beat Auburn, obviously, a lot of different guys. But 2017 SEC championship, we won. Hey, this year we did beat Georgia Tech on turf. They don't have grass anymore. They switched to turf, so we've got that going for us. So,
That's
but yeah,
true.
I
That's
think
true.
that is the main thing because otherwise, indoors to keep the Indiana elements away. So I would think that would pretty much be it.
The swirling
Okay,
winds. I mean,
those
the
rolling winds. Yeah.
sound. The sound obviously would be
Mm-hmm.
something. But
Yeah.
what's the capacity at Indianapolis versus Mercedes Benz?
I don't know. Well, let's Google that while I read this
Yeah,
next one, and then
yeah.
we can come back to it. Because I
Yeah,
really want to
okay.
get to this next one because this next question comes from I assume a longtime listener, first time caller, at Powell John T on Twitter says, "Can I ask a question for my own show? It. I'm gonna do it. Sorry, Connor. Man, I'm gonna have to edit the heck out of this episode. We've won the Natty.
For reference, it definitely didn't say the full emphasis F.
It
It
didn't
was
say
definitely
F dash.
bleeped. It
It
was
says
Twitter
F
bleeped.
dash F dash dash dash. Okay, so here's the setup. We've won the Natty. I'm gonna read as you typed. We've won the Natty. Jim Wood PMP, John Tweet Sports, Dogs Forever, Hey Michael Smith, Dog Out West, and company are out and about afterwards. What kind of cake, bourbon, and cigars are going down? And I meant to have the soundbite ready for this, but I don't have it. So instead of cake, I would actually have a Cinnabon. Hat tip, friend of the show, George Foster, because winning the Natty would be sweeter than a Cinnabon.
Sweeter than a cinema.
And then
That's fantastic.
for the bourbon, I mean, apparently I'm drinking what John is bringing because holy cow, he posted the picture of his lineup. So something from his list. I don't know. There was a couple. I think there were like multiple Willers, so potentially one of those.
Mm-hmm.
And then
He's got some.
cigars.
That's a good lineup.
Cigars. I might just go Munson style and say I'm smoking what you're giving me because apparently when we hear that's what Munson used to do.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that was a question for me to answer. I don't know. You can ask your own question, but can you answer your own question? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to really work on that exactly.
There are no rules. There are no rules where we live, Jim. I'm living. The reason I asked that question, just to give some context to the folks listening, and if you weren't around with us for the Clemson game, but after the Clemson win, there was a lot of revelry in Charlotte, and we were at the cigar bar and we were drinking bourbon and smoking cigars until it was, fairly late. Like, I guess, like too late for Charlotte, but
it was too late for
everything
me
started.
because I went home.
You went home.
I was tired.
It was
tired.
it was definitely too late for you. But Charlotte shut down. Like the the food situation in Charlotte was not prepared for a dog's victory to the wee hours of the morning, which I'm guessing probably Indianapolis probably isn't going to be either. So the only thing that they were able to get to eat was a cake. I don't even remember what cake it was. I can't remember what kind of cake it was, but if it were me, I would definitely go for red velvet cake.
Nice.
Red velvet cake, Weller. I suggested Weller 107, which, as I alluded to earlier, I'm drinking that right now, but which is the red label, or Weller 12, which is the black label, so red and black.
Nice.
Those would be two bourbons, and I am actually going to be drinking both of those during the game. as well. I'm saving the Weller 12 for the victory, obviously, but um, and as far as the cigars go, like I don't know, I suggested the Weller Cohiba, which John and Bobby have talked about a good bit. In my head, instinctively, it sounds amazing, but it's probably way too out of my league for those, because I'm like more of like a basic cigar person, because like
Right.
um, Macanudos and something mild for me.
Right. I'm the same way. I'm the same way. That's good. So yeah, so it was great to finally get a question from a longtime listener, Paolo John T. So thank you if you're
I'll hang
listening.
up. I'll hang up and listen.
All right, Zach is up next. SC Dog 864. All right, this is lengthy, so let me get to it. I'm going to read this. I'm not expecting a win, but something feels different about this one, fellas. Anything you have saved or ready to do to celebrate this win? Like the moment it's over, after the game, or later on. Personally, I'm going to go yell in the streets, and then I'm getting a tattoo that I promised I would years ago if we won. Also, this game will be for all Georgia fans and the fans that came before us and that are no longer with us anymore. Oh yeah, then let's bleeping eat. I'll do it as he typed it. Go dogs. Um, I want to go back to the first part. I have some advice, SC Dog. Um, don't try to protect yourself by not expecting to win. That's the attitude I took in the national championship game in 2017, and it didn't make me feel any better when we lost. So
Mm.
like you're either a leader or you're not. Dare to be great. Let's do this. So that's the first thing. As for like the moments it's over, are there things that I have? I don't want to say them. I do have something that I plan to do. But I don't want to say it. Everyone, if you're listening, you're gonna know. If you interact with us, you'll know what my thing was. I'll just say that. But I will say this: like, I'll be with my dad. Uh, he's the reason I'm a Georgia fan. He got me into it as a baby. So the first thing I will do is hug my dad. So uh, it would I don't know. It's the kind of thing like I can't even imagine it. So it's hard to
I
imagine.
can't. I can't. This is like I'm like sitting here waiting. I'm like waiting to give my answer to this. Like
Yeah.
how do I follow up? How do I follow up
Sorry.
that? Like
Sorry.
that's like a mic drop. That's like a mic drop. Which that's kind of what I like. I'll say it. I'll say it like in my when we were talking about this, and you were like, "I'm going to the game with my dad." It's like, "Oh, it's a father son affair." Like I know,
Mhm.
I know
Right.
how much that means for both of you guys. So like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
super jealous, first of all, but like,
Right.
second of all, like, I get it. Um,
Right. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
I originally started this because like no, I wasn't a Georgia fan. Like I was just trying to piss my dad off by rooting for someone else. But I eventually grew up and put away childish things and came to my senses and went to the
Right.
university just like my dad did, and so here we are.
Yeah.
So I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
I know that my dad and I will be texting and we'll be conversing throughout, but now that I think about it, I might try to force him to come up. He's not a big traveler, um,
Yeah.
but my saving that I have is I actually went to a fireworks display. I purchased fireworks for the New Year's Eve
Mhm.
celebration. I was actually expecting to like shoot fireworks off for Michigan, but it was such a blowout that it was kind of like, eh. I'm gonna I'm gonna save these for the next one. I very much had a Kirby Smart thing. Like now that I'm thinking about it,
Mm,
like I actually had a Kirby Smart mentality. I was like, you know
nice. I
what?
like it.
I'm not going to shoot these off. I'm going to save them. The season's not over yet. Clearly.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So I have 18 I have 18 mortars that I can shoot off after we win, which there are 3 houses in my neighborhood that I may stop by depending on how much bourbon I have to drink. after the game, just to raise Cain a little bit, not so much wake my family up, but wake their families
Right, right.
up.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's what I've
Nice.
got. I've also got some
Okay.
cigars that I've been holding on to.
Nice. Perfect. Perfect. All right. 51-7. GATA. After our dogs get a safety to win 30-28, do you think a Gump will try to kill a tree in Athens? I'm actually going to say no, because I don't see that being replicated again. I certainly hope not. uh, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think we're going to get a safety. I don't think that anybody's going to kill trees.
Yes.
They have multiple years of success. When did that happen? When did the Harvey Wine, not the Harvey Weinstein, whatever, the Harvey Upstein,
Updike.
Updike, that's what it
Yes.
was. When did all that go down? I feel like that was a long time ago.
Yeah. Was it the kick six or was it before that?
Yeah, which was like
Because it was.
years
I mean,
ago,
it was
right?
Auburn.
Like, I mean, they've
Yeah.
got
Kick
multiple
six.
national championships since then. Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
care about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Kick six was 2014. So yeah, I don't know. Or no, sorry,
I
2013.
will say, there was a follow up to this question, which I was like, man, that's a really obscure fact. Someone mentioned like an actual tree that they definitely didn't want. Like,
Yeah, they said that like the forestry school would like kill the person or something like that. Uh,
yeah, that was interesting because I I have no idea what you're talking about, and I went to school there.
right, right.
I might
Yeah,
have to do some googling on that one. That
I
was
feel
like
like I need to.
a late tweet. I feel like it was like right before we were recording.
I feel like I need to pull that up.
So it was Brian Holly at underscore Brian Holly HOLLEY underscore. Um, his reply there is not sure, but if they try to kill the royal Polonia tree next to the bridge, the entire forestry school will hunt them down.
Amazing. Yes,
So
that's
I
that
feel
is
like
that is quite a specific answer. Yeah, I don't know what that tree is either.
the
Are we bad? Are we
follow
bad?
up.
Are we bad Georgia fans because we don't know what that is?
Well, you know what? This speaks to the fact that I'm up to date on my turf.
True.
So the turf
True.
grass management, which my freshman year roommate was a turf grass management major, and talked about the ag guys having like custom grass in their dorms and stuff. I imagine that the forestry school is similar.
Right. Right.
Okay, so the Royal Polonia tree.
Are you
Okay,
actually looking this up?
I am. So the description that I could give to this thing is like, do you remember as a kid like watching the Land Before Time?
Yes, I do.
So the leaves that are off those trees were like ginormous, right?
Mm-hmm.
The leaves off the royal Polonia tree are basically like the tree stars from from the Land Before Time. Like they're huge.
Amazing.
These are
Amazing.
massive. Like these are the biggest leaves I've ever seen in my life.
Love it.
Which, by the
Uh,
way, like I have a love-hate relationship with trees and leaves, but that's a dad story for another time.
we have gone sufficiently off the rails. We're going to move to the next question.
So off the rails.
Okay,
I told you the barrel proof.
that's true. Fletcher Proctor, will the parade go down Lumpkin, Millage, Broad, or Washington? And I've got this one because here's what it's going to do. It's going to start on Washington, hang a left on Lumpkin, and then a left on Broad. It's going to make the loop, kind of like the homecoming parade. That's my answer.
Is it the
Okay.
homecoming parade?
That's what
Okay.
the homecoming parade does. He's saying if we
I
win, where is the parade going to go?
Listen, Jim. The parade is going to come from the airport, and it's going to go up 85, and it's going to go
Mm,
all the way to Athens. And you know what's going to happen when we get right around, say, like the Fifth Street to 14th Street area?
mm.
It's going to slow down. in front of Techwood. It's going to slow down in front of that trade school area. Like it's going to slow down.
Right, right, right.
That's exactly what's
Nice.
going to happen.
Uh, let's see. John Michael D. In light of the new movie about Kurt Warner's story, when does the Stetson Bennett IV movie documentary happen? Do y'all think the dogs have to win for it to happen? He says he thinks a win makes it a bit quicker, but it will happen either way. Uh, I think he needs to win for it to happen, personally. You had a working title for the Stetson Bennett movie. I think it was simply The Walk On, I
The
believe.
Walk On.
Yes.
That was my working
I like it.
title. Yeah.
I like it. I like it. All right. Let's see.
Alternative title would be The Mailman.
Obviously, obviously, obviously. Aaron King, who makes the memorable play that wins us the game? My money is on King Kieris, which Aaron is just like, he's setting it up perfectly for us. The unofficial official wide receiver of my kind of podcast would be perfect. The memorable play. With this team, I feel like it needs to be someone on defense, though, honestly. So I'm going to go with Nakobe Dean. You got anyone that comes to mind?
The memorable play. I'm gonna go with Stetson
Oh,
touchdown to Brock Bowers.
amazing. That works. I'm all for that too.
Yeah.
Um,
Which by the way, Aaron, you're speaking my love language here. These are basically words of affirmation. King King Kieris, are you kidding me? On the last preview episode, we're bringing up Kieris, who by
amazing.
and large everything we've heard is like 100% for this game. Which he had a
Yeah.
catch that was an amazing catch that was wiped out by a penalty.
Okay, that's what I was about to bring it up. You brought it up.
Yeah.
Well done. All right, next up, M Dubs. Hey, Michael Smith. What is the single best thing that could happen for Georgia during this game? And what is the single worst thing? His brother, Dogs Forever, responded and said, pick six. Also, pick six. So, uh, which I don't know that I've got anything better than that. Um,
I mean, I can come up with some better stuff than
oh, I
that.
have one, but it's like, do I want to say it? So here's the funny. It's awful, but similar. I'm going to go with the similar device that Dogs River used and say the backup quarterback comes into the game, and the backup quarterback comes into the game.
Nice. I'm
That
gonna
was kind of
go.
that was for Josh, I think.
And so then it's basically just like two backups just gunslinging.
Right, right, right.
The single best thing that could happen would be like three pick sixes. Single
Sure.
worst thing would be three pick
Okay,
sixes.
so you've just tripled Dogs River's
I'm
answer.
tripling
Nice.
down. I'm
Uh,
tripling you.
All right. Let's see. My dad chimes in. Frip Dog. Our tickets are in our phones. Our parking pass is printed out. How many times will we check and make sure the parking pass is in the truck before we leave? Over under. So this is a joke because we over the years, like when we were leaving to go to the game from my parents' house, we used to always check like 85 times to make sure we actually had the tickets. Now with the tickets not being physical, like they're on your phone, not as big of a deal. So we haven't had to do that so much. But we have a parking pass for the national championship game that I already have printed out. So, I don't know that you can set an over under enough high enough for the number of times we'll be checking to make sure we have the parking pass. Even though I guess we could just print it out again when we get there, but still, we're still going
I
to do it.
mean, I had a suggestion for him,
Oh,
Jim.
what is it?
It was take a picture of the printed.
Right. Well, it's a PDF attached to an email. That's what I'm saying. It's not the end of the world, but that's not going to stop
Okay.
us because that's how we roll.
Okay.
That's how we
Okay.
roll.
That's just a little inside baseball on father son
Right.
mentality.
Exactly.
Love it. Love it. Love it. I'm the
All
same
right,
way. I'm the same way.
I've got the return to something, but we're going to go do this a little bit different. So I hope you're ready for this one. It's time for Coach Trails over Ice. The return of the soundboard. I finally got to work again. Okay. Coach Joe Bills over unders. Georgia rushing yards over under 185. That's a lot.
That's a
I'm going to say under.
lot of rushing yards.
I'm going to go under.
My instinct was under. Yeah, I'm still gonna stick with under, but
we could approach that.
We're talking total rushing yards, right? So
Georgia rushing yards.
Yeah, yeah. I'm still gonna go. I'm gonna stick with the under on that one.
Okay, Georgia rushing touchdowns 1.5. I think I went over 2.5 last game and we had 0. I don't think we'll get blanked this game. I think 1.5 is a good number. I'm going to go under because I think it'll be 1.
But. Yeah, I'm going under.
Okay. Over under 225 Georgia passing yards.
Over.
I'm going to go over as well. Over under 2.5 Georgia passing touchdowns.
Over.
Agreed. God, we're agreeing on everything. That's okay because as we no longer disagree, just disagree.
The rationale there is we did all those things the last one.
Exactly. Over under 1.5 sacks for Georgia.
Our defense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Our defense getting 1.5 sacks?
Yep.
Push. I'm gonna go under.
I'm gonna go over, but I wouldn't be way over. I think this is a good line. I think
it's 1 to 2. It's a good line.
Yeah.
Push.
Amazing.
Which could happen technically. Think you get a half sack?
Well, a person could get a half sack, but
I know. I'm just kidding.
Amazing. Georgia forced turnovers over under 1.5.
Under.
Yeah,
I hate to say it. It's going to be under.
I'm with you. And then let's see, Georgia third down conversion percentage over under 50%. That's where I'm going to say push.
What were we in the SEC championship? I can't even remember.
SEC? I think we were close to, if not over that, in the Orange Bowl. You're looking up the SEC championship game or the Orange Bowl?
I'm looking at the SEC championship game. All right, first downs. Oh yeah. Oh my God.
It was way under in that game. I don't know why you're trying to check that game.
Yeah, we were way under.
That's why I was saying you need to look at the Orange Bowl. Look more recent.
No, I don't care about the Orange Bowl. There's no, Jim.
Okay.
No.
So let's just say okay. So what do you got? Over under 50% third down conversions.
Push.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Okay. And Bama fan complains about Georgia fans barking. Over under 2,000. I mean, I feel like over. Like for some reason, people don't understand that we bark, and they're like, "You guys bark," so over.
Yeah, seriously, especially if we win, it's definitely going to be skyrocketed.
Yeah, for sure. And then over under Georgia fan takeover in Indianapolis, 55%. I'm going to go over. I'm going to go over. It sounds like we actually were outnumbered in the Orange Bowl. I forgot to talk about that. I heard that from a friend of the show, our buddy Matt Moore. He was there, and he said it was definitely more Michigan fans. So, but I'm expecting it to be.
Did he give you a percentage or anything like that?
His was really high. He was like, "Oh man," it was he did. It was something crazy though, because I can't remember what it was though. He said 65-35 or something like that. But I think, yeah.
Aaron Murray gave it a 55% Michigan.
That's what I was going to say. Because I heard him say that on punt and pass. So his was a little bit more even than what Matt was saying. So I think Matt was sitting amongst a bunch of Michigan fans. So that may have viewed his view.
Poor bastard. Is he going to the national championship?
Last I talked, I don't have confirmation that he'll be here. I know he is trying to make it work. That's the last I heard. So yeah,
Yeah.
yep. All right, so that's it. That's it for Coach Drill Bill's over unders. As always, Coach, thank you for the over unders. All right, let's get to the final predictions. So, Odd Shark, not a sponsor. It has okay. So here's what I did see. This is interesting. Odd Shark has Georgia as a 3-point favorite. Uh, ESPN I saw has Georgia as a 2.5-point favorite, which I think 2.5 is what it opened at. But at any rate, again,
The
reminder.
line moved up.
Yeah, it opened at 2.5 and it moved up to 3. Right.
Yeah.
But ESPN still has it at 2.5 from what I saw. But at any rate, um, clearly Vegas is part of the anti-Georgia deep state, because Nick Saban used the, as he called it, yummy rat poison in the SEC championship game. I figured after that there would be no way we could be favored again. I figured everyone would be like, oh, we learned our lesson. Don't doubt Saban. All this kind of stuff. I'm kind of frustrated by that, honestly, because I feel like it just gives Saban fuel for that fire. But whatever. Both the coaches all week are, I'm sure, claiming that it's us against the world and everyone's doubting us. I'm sure
Yeah, seriously.
both coaches are trying to do that. At any
I think
rate,
the biggest thing that I saw with that was like Nick Saban talking about all the adversity that Alabama has been through this season.
it's like Bryce Young showed all the doubters when he won the Heisman.
I mean, come on, Nick.
No one's ever believed in us. So the line is Georgia by 3. Over under is 52 points. So that would give us an implied score of 27.5 to 24.5, based on the line. The Odd Shark, their predicted score is Georgia winning 39.6 to 32.8, which would be a cover and hit the over. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I need you. I need you to go first.
You need to go
I need to
first.
see where you're
All
at.
right.
I need to see where you're at.
All right. I have a couple of things. I've already talked about, are we going to see the team that showed up 13 times, the team that showed up one time? You know, at this point, I have to believe we're going to see the team that showed up 13 times. I mean, the theme of the season, right? Like you're either elite or you're not. And then here's my nugget. Alabama has never won back-to-back college football playoff championships. Every time they've won it, they've made it back the next year, and they lost. That's going to happen again. Georgia wins 31 to 28. That is a push and the over.
Nice. Out of curiosity, so if they won the national championship and then came back the next year, what was the score?
The score each subsequent year?
Yeah.
I don't have that.
Don't have that. Well, it doesn't really matter. I'm just curious for the folks out there. You dropped that nugget out there, and I'm like, well, okay,
Okay, here you go.
because
Okay.
they got blown out. They got blown out by
So there was
Clemson one year.
so the loss to Clemson after the 2016 season. They lost 35 to 31.
Okay.
Then the following year, they beat us. The year after that, they lost again to Clemson, 44 to 16. That's the blowout that you referenced. So those are
Yeah.
the two losses. So they had a close one, both to Clemson.
Close one. Yeah, both to Clemson.
Yep.
All right, so I did a little numbering that I sent to the text thread earlier this week. Since I haven't seen the impact score ratings or whatever from everyone. So there's a couple of folks that that we follow. Obviously, Odd Shark. Then there's a conglomeration of uh, the sources that ESPN, I guess, gets their predictions from, that they list out on the website, that have predicted scores and things like that.
Mhm.
I basically just took an average out of all of
Mhm.
them. I took myself out of this equation and just tried to figure out, like, what do these people think?
Yeah.
There's Stats of War on Twitter, that has been right and has also been very wrong in the past,
Mhm.
on their predicted score. So I just did an average of everything. So I've got a 35-34 UGA win.
I like had like a I had a heart attack ahead of time just now thinking about that. Now, granted, I've got a 3-point game, but whew. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, a 30. If it comes down to something like that, like that's. I mean, that's a fun game, and that's actually, like, to be
Yeah.
fair to my Alabama buddies, like, I make fun of this, like, you know, I've got super hardcore person that I don't really interact with, haven't really asked about the game. Like, we've kind of
Mhm.
just been like, okay, you guys are good, we're good, like, kept a distance. Then I've got two closer buddies that I interact with. One is kind of like a passive fan, and he's like, dude, George is good, man. He's kind of like middle of the road, like that. Saban's the GOAT. Like, his money's on Saban every game. Okay,
Yeah.
cool, got it. Well, the other buddy that I have, that's the Alabama alumni. So we got two alumni that I'm an alumni. He's an alumni. Like, this is the person that I want to interact with on this.
Mhm.
Um, and he said the same thing that I did. Like, what he wants is just what I would love to see is just us play perfect and Alabama play perfect, and just see who comes out on top. Like,
Yeah, it
both
was
of
pretty
these
disappointing to
teams.
see us wet the bed the last game. We lay an egg,
Exactly.
right? Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. Like,
yeah.
I would almost, like, I hesitate to say it, like I don't want any turnover. I don't want any excuses. I want zero excuses. Nobody turn the ball over. Let's just go
Mhm.
out good on good. Like, frankly, like, I hope all our best players play. I hope all our best players play, so that there's no excuses whatsoever, and
Yeah.
just go good on good and just see who wins. And frankly,
Yep.
like, everything else being equal, our talent is basically negligible, and my
Yep.
predicted score is basically negligible, which is kind
Yeah.
of what happened in 2017. It's what happened in 2012. I
Yep.
just hope that we edge them out. I just want to see a
Yep.
good game.
Yep. Yep. Agreed. Uh, I think if it if it winds up with either of those scores, it's going to be game of the century of the year for sure.
I mean, I
uh,
think it would be a game of the century. Like, I
yeah.
mean, if
Yeah, but it doesn't
Stetson's
happen every
putting
year. You get the game of the century of the year.
he game of the century, yeah, exactly. Um, I mean, if Stetson's putting up that kind of points, and frankly, maybe it's not Stetson, but, like, all intents and purposes, if
Nah,
Stetson's putting up those numbers, like,
yeah, yeah,
holy cow, dude! Like,
yeah,
love it,
yeah, for sure.
love it. Which
Well,
is why I have the dog's edge.
I don't know how I'm gonna like make it until Monday. Like I'm already like it's which is Wednesday, by the way. We're recording Wednesday night.
So,
It's a long
full
way away.
transparency, as you know, I'm not going to the game. You
Yeah,
and I are actually going to have a chance to link up before the game
that's right.
potentially.
That's right. Yeah. So I'll see you. I will see you Saturday. I'm not sure who else is going to come with me. It might end up just being me trying to convince, trying to bring a kid along with me. But we'll see. But yeah, I will at least get to see the most famous podcaster in the Powell household, Carter Powell, and his soccer team playing in Charlotte this weekend. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be fun. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so that's where I'm sitting right now, right? So, I'm
Fair,
like,
fair.
dude, I've got to get through 3 days worth of, like, soccer stuff, because I'm going to be traveling. I'm traveling Friday afternoon. I'm actually going to pick him up early from school. He doesn't know this yet, but I'm going to pick him up early from school.
Okay.
And he and I are basically going to leave, and we're going to have a little father son weekend. unfortunately
Yeah.
not going to Indianapolis, which my wife and I flirted with, but
Right.
he and I are going to have a father-son weekend up in Charlotte with him and his buddies. We're staying at the Aloft Balaton. If you're in the area, Greg, before you leave town, if you want to get together, let me know. Anybody in Charlotte wants
Just
to get together?
for the Charlotte people, it's Ballantine. Just FYI,
Ah,
Ballantine. But that's okay. You don't live here. No worries.
the Pineville area.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, my son is representing the state of Georgia, which go dogs. Representing the state of Georgia up in Charlotte, where it all began. We're making the trip back. This is all
Man,
talking
how
about
about
where.
that, dude? I hadn't even thought about that. Weekend one,
Yeah,
Europe in Charlotte. And that was
exactly,
the first time we had seen each other in like who knows how long. I think we couldn't even remember the last time we had actually seen each other. We record this 2 states away. Uh,
exactly.
and man, yeah, all back where it began on Saturday, right?
Back
That's
where it
pretty
all
cool.
began on
That's pretty cool.
Saturday.
I hadn't even thought about it like that. That's awesome. That's gonna be awesome. I am
It'll
looking forward to seeing you guys on Saturday.
we'll be
And
we'll be able to.
I haven't met Carter Powell in person, so this is gonna
That's
be a good
true.
one.
That's true. That's true. Because the
Uh,
game that I went to, you weren't there.
that's right.
Um,
That's right.
I'll be able to send you off. We'll be able to send you off. We'll be like Vikings, just sending you off into the ocean, whatever. Like go and pillage.
Uh,
Um, yeah. That's on my side of things. Like I'm looking forward to this because not only is he representing the state of Georgia, but he's representing like his age group, and we're playing older boys. So
mm,
he's going to be playing older boys from other states that are more established than Georgia, like Virginia and Pennsylvania.
mhm.
Um, big, big soccer states. So it's actually going to be if you are a soccer fan and want to see some potential U.S. players playing, I guarantee you there's at least one kid that's going to be playing for the U.S. national team at some point. He's really good.
Yeah. Nice.
Some good soccer going on.
Nice. Yeah, man, that's gonna be fun. That'll be fun. And and maybe there'll be a trip to go try and get some bourbon across the border into South Carolina. We'll see. We'll see. TBD.
Well, I can guarantee you that I'm going to stop because I need a jump off. I need a jump off point after dealing with flipping Gaffney. Like
Mm.
I
Uh,
need a I
the
need to
worst
jump
drive to.
off to deal
Yeah.
with to deal with South Carolina.
Yeah. Get it together, South Carolina. Get your highways in order. Yeah. Well, cool.
Anyway,
Well, and then any plans for the any any plans for like a watch party? Monday, it's a Monday night. I mean, I got work the next day. It's always tough. I don't. I still don't like that. But you
yeah,
gonna do anything? You're just gonna watch at home.
the Monday's tough.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be trying to watch at home. I was talking to my wife about trying to put together something, but I'm gonna be coming back Sunday, so like
Yeah. It's a quick turnaround.
it's a fairly quick turnaround. I don't know. The other thing that we've got playing on is like we've got some family exposure to COVID and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It being on a Monday is not good. Like my brother-in-law would be the one that I would really want to watch it with. Which by the way, Austin, I've got your cigar that we're our victory cigar. So sucks for you if you don't come.
You know, Austin was the first person outside of you and myself and my dad to have a My God a Podcast hat. So
That's true.
fun
That's
fact.
true.
Fun fact.
Which he gets asked about at work on his construction site.
Uh, which, if you, I will say, if you're listening and you're going to be in Indianapolis, I will be there. Frip Dog will be there. Um, one of us will have on a My God a Podcast hat for sure. I'm going to bust out the starter jacket that we talked about last season that I bought. I got it before last season and never got a chance to wear it. So I'm going to wear that to the Natty. So that is the plan.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. I'm excited. This is what it's all about, right? I mean, this is what you do this for. I'm excited. I'm excited.
It's what you got to do, and like I said, we nugget that we didn't talk about.
Mm.
Um, there's another coach in NCAA that had also been winless against Nick Saban until this season. That man's name is Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher was 0-4 going into this year against Nick Saban. Kirby
Mm.
Smart is 0-4 against Nick Saban
Mm.
currently.
Yeah.
Jimbo Fisher beat him on his fifth attempt. Fifth time's the charm. Fifth
I like it.
time's the charm.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, man. I mean, it would be legendary. You know, it would be the first championship since 1980, and it would also be the first ever Georgia team to win 14 games. That has never happened. So it would be special.
Yep.
It would be special.
Here we go.
Hey, let's just hope that we're talking around this time next week, doing a national champions review. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah,
That'd be
man.
awesome.
You guys enjoy, win, lose. I hope you guys enjoy Indianapolis.
Yep.
But, I'm hoping that there's going to be some cake and cigars destroyed.
Amen. I love it. All right, man. This has been, first off, thank you for coming along this ride with me. We started this last season. You were gracious enough to agree when I sprung the idea on you, like super last minute before the Arkansas game. And
It's super fun to think about.
wouldn't have
Hey,
had
you
it
want to do a podcast? Yeah, sure. When are we going to do? When are we going to start? Tomorrow.
Hey, that's how I roll. That's how I roll. So yeah, so I don't know, man. Thanks for doing this with me. It's been a blast, and feel like it's all worth it. This is awesome.
It's fun, man. It's been building, and I have a feeling I'm going to be shooting some fireworks off at some Bama fans' driveways on Monday.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.